Last winter, I took a few days off work and decided to go camping alone with my dog, Roscoe. I wanted silence, isolation, and distance from people. I loaded my truck and drove deep into a state forest, following a narrow road buried in snow. After nearly an hour, I parked at a forgotten pull-off and hiked another 20 minutes into the woods. The snow was untouched. No footprints. No signs of life. That's when I knew I was truly alone. I layered up in thermal clothing and started a small fire. The flames crackled softly as I cooked a simple meal. The forest was silent, so silent it felt unnatural. Snow absorbs sound, but this felt deeper than that. I found a small clearing surrounded by thick trees and decided to set up camp. Roscoe stayed close while I pitched the tent and secured it into the frozen ground. The air was painfully cold. That's when Roscoe suddenly stood up and started barking toward the trees. At first, I assumed it was a deer, but his tone wasn't playful. It was a warning. I followed his gaze and saw a figure standing at the edge of the tree-line. A man, half hidden in the darkness, watching me. The man asked what I was doing so deep in the woods. His voice wasn't friendly. I told him I was camping and calmly mentioned that I was armed. He laughed quietly and said something about hospitality before turning and walking back into the darkness. I put out the fire immediately. I didn't want light drawing attention. I crawled into the tent with Roscoe and sealed it shut, my heart still pounding. The man asked what I was doing so deep in the woods. His voice wasn't friendly. I told him I was camping and calmly mentioned that I was armed. He laughed quietly and said something about hospitality before turning and walking back into the darkness. I put out the fire immediately. I didn't want light drawing attention. I crawled into the tent with Roscoe and sealed it shut, my heart still pounding. I held my gun and warned them to leave. After a long pause, the footsteps moved away, slowly at first, then faster, disappearing into the forest. I didn't sleep after that. When morning finally came, I packed up as fast as I could. Every sound made me turn around. I left without looking back. I never returned to that part of the forest again. That night taught me something important. Sometimes the most dangerous thing in the wilderness isn't an animal. It's another human. I didn't believe in urban legends. That changed the night I decided to explore an abandoned house just outside my town. The house stood alone, surrounded by dead trees. No lights, no sound, just a feeling that something was wrong. I stepped inside, and the air instantly felt colder. Not because of the weather, but because the house felt empty in the wrong way. Every step echoed. The floor creaked loudly, like the house was reacting to my presence. Dust covered everything, except the center of the hallway. Footprints faced away from me. They weren't mine. I stood there listening. No wind, no insects, just silence pressing in from all sides. Then I heard it, a slow dragging sound coming from upstairs. Halfway up the stairs, I noticed something carved into the wall. The same name, over and over again. One door upstairs was slightly open. My instincts screamed at me to leave, but I didn't. The door creaked open by itself. Inside, the air felt thick, like it didn't want me there. I heard breathing behind me, slow, controlled, too close. When I turned around, nothing was there. Then the door slammed shut. In the corner of the room, I saw a tall, dark shape. It didn't move. It just watched me. The door suddenly flew open. I didn't think. I ran. I ran until I reached my car. When I looked back, the house was gone. Some places aren't abandoned. They're waiting. I never used to double-check my locks. I never paid attention to small noises at night. And I never believed someone could be inside my home while I was sleeping. I live alone in a small, quiet house. My life is routine, work from home, late-night gym sessions, groceries once a week. Nothing exciting, nothing dangerous, or so I thought. One night around 2:30 a.m., I heard a dull thump near the back of the house. It wasn't loud. It wasn't sudden. Just enough to make me stop breathing for a second. The next morning, the back door felt different. The lock worked, but the handle was loose. I told myself houses shift in winter. I ignored the feeling in my gut. A few nights later, I came home from the gym and noticed my porch light was off. I always leave it on. The house felt normal, but something about it felt used. One morning, I woke up and saw my phone nearly dead. The charger was plugged into my phone, but not into the wall. That's when fear stopped feeling hypothetical. That night, I stayed awake listening. Around 3 a.m., I heard slow footsteps. The next morning, I found muddy footprints near the back door, smeared like someone tried to hide them. I changed the lock that day. That night, I locked my bedroom and blocked the door. At 4 a.m., something tapped lightly on it. Not knocking, testing. The next night, I heard movement from the basement. The door was cracked open. At the bottom of the stairs, a human shape stood perfectly still. Police found him hiding behind the furnace. He had food, water, a phone charger. He had been living there, watching me. I moved out not long after. I still lock every door. I still listen to every sound. Because the scariest part wasn't knowing he was there. It was knowing he had time. After the police took him away, everyone told me the same thing. You're safe now. But safety is a strange word when someone has already learned your routine. They said I could go back inside. The house looked normal. Too normal. Every room felt smaller, like it was holding its breath. An officer asked me questions about my schedule. What time I left. What time I came back. Which days I went to the gym. That's when I realized he hadn't just been hiding. He had been studying me. They showed me the basement. Behind the furnace was a small space I never noticed. Old insulation, food wrappers, empty bottles. A place someone could live without being seen. Days later, while scrolling through my phone, I found it. A photo I didn't remember taking. It was me, asleep in my bed. Timestamp 3:11 a.m. My hands went numb. That was the night my phone charger was unplugged, which meant he stood there long enough to watch me sleep, close enough to touch me. I stopped using the basement. I started sleeping with lights on. Every sound felt intentional. Every shadow felt watched. Even silence felt loud. The detective called me a week later. They hadn't gotten a confession. The man hadn't spoken once. Not to police, not to a lawyer. Before hanging up, the detective asked one last thing. "How long have you lived there?" When I answered, he paused and said quietly, "Then you should know." This wasn't recent. That's when it hit me. The noises I ignored years ago. The things I explained away. He wasn't just living in my house. He had been there before I ever felt alone. I still live with one question. If he hadn't been caught, would I have ever known?